Hi class, today we are in Saxon Math Book 4, Lesson 88, and we are going to talk about what the remainder in a word problem means. So when we're solving word problems, whether we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, it's as much about understanding the problem and your reading comprehension skills as it is your math skills. So you have to be really careful to make sure you understand what each number represents. So in this problem, Lily needs to place 100 bottles into boxes that hold 6 bottles each. So the first question says, how many boxes can be filled? We're going to have to do some math to figure that out. She has 100 bottles. Her boxes can hold 6 bottles. So we're going to take that 100 bottles and we're going to divide it into groups of 6 bottles. And so instead of just writing the numbers, I'm labeling what each of these things mean. We've got 100 bottles, we're dividing them into groups of 6. Okay? So groups of 6 means my answer is going to represent how many groups of 6 I have. Does 6 go into 1? No. Does 6 go into 10? 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract. Bring down your 0. Does 6 go into 40? Yes. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract, and we have a remainder of 4. So the question is, what does this number represent? Well, if we've got groups of 6, we're able to make 16 whole groups of 6. So how many boxes can be filled? 16 boxes are going to be filled with 6 bottles. The R, our remainder, that means what's remaining. After I fill 16 boxes, I have 4 bottles left over. So I can make 16 whole groups, plus I have 4 bottles left over. So the next question says, how many bottles will be left over? That's your remainder, that's 4. How many boxes are needed to hold all the bottles? So oftentimes your question is going to ask, if I have 100 bottles and each box holds 6, how many boxes do I need? If you do this and you tell me that you need 16 boxes, your answer would be wrong, because what about those 4 leftover bottles? So when we have a question like that, we need to hold all 100 bottles. So even though we're not going to fill that 17th box, we will still need 17 boxes in order to hold all of our bottles. Okay, so I have another one for you. It says, tomorrow, 32 students are attending an awards ceremony. Each table will seat 5 students. Part A says, how many tables can be filled? So we know we have 32 students, and we have to break those 32 students up into groups of 5 because the table only holds 5 students. Does 5 go into 3? No. Does it go into 32? Yes. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, and we have nothing left to drop, so here's our remainder. So our answer would be 6 remainder 2. Well, which of these numbers represents how many tables will be full? That's going to be your answer here, not the remainder, just your answer to the division problem. 6. We'll have 6 tables filled with 5 students each. Then it says how many tables will be needed. If I only have 6 tables, I'm going to have 2 students with nowhere to sit, because that's my remainder. I can fill 6 tables, but I'll have 2 students left over. So how many tables will be needed for the banquet? 7. Even though it won't be full, we'll need 7 tables. Okay, this next one I want you to try on your own. It's in your book on page 559. It's kind of the second half of the lesson practice here. Listen to the problem. Tendai found 31 quarters in his bank. He made stacks of 4 quarters each. So he found 31 quarters and he put them into stacks of 4 quarters each. Question C says, how many stacks of 4 quarters did he make? So if he had 31 quarters, he put them in stacks of 4 quarters each. Pause here, try to answer that one on your own, and then come back when you're ready to see the answer. So he took his 31 quarters, he divided them into groups of 4 because he's stacking up 4 quarters. Does 4 go into 3? No. Does it go into 31? Yes. 7 times 4 is 28. We'll subtract, and we have a remainder. So question C says, how many stacks of 4 quarters did he make? That is your 7. The remainder is how many quarters were left over. So the next question, D, says, how many extra quarters did he have? He had 3 extra quarters. And E says, if Tendai made a short stack with the extra quarters, how many stacks would he have in all? So he had 7 stacks, and then he makes another stack with the extra quarters, so he'd have a total of 8 stacks. That is the end of today's lesson. You can start your written practice on page 560. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.